No, it's not. Now it's recording.
Welcome everyone. Bruchim Abayim. Okay, so we're about to begin Marcus Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. I'm going to do a quick recap on this last Memra of Reb Shimon on Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. The whole of Yud Zayin Amud Beis is coming to quantify this Memra of Reb Shimon on Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Now, Reb Shimon brings a drasha. It's about the fifth line in the Gemara. Right? And the Gemara says like this, Amar Reb Shimon. One second, hold on, let me just find the right one. It says Reb Shimon a few times over here.
Okay.
So, the Kiva Reb Shimon Israeli, my Reb Shimon. The first one line is my. My Reb Shimon, which Reb Shimon are we talking about here? That this mission is going like Reb Shimon, the Tanya, and now the Gemara brings a brisa of Reb Shimon. The Tanya, the Trubas Yodcha Ele Bekurim. I just want to read the pasuk outside the Reb Shimon's derish. There's a pasuk here, and Reb Shimon does like a masterpiece of a drasha, so much so that Rava comes and says, is Mishabeachim. Now, the pasuk that he quotes is like this: says, Lo yisucha lecho b'sharecha. You can't eat in your shar, and the pasuk doesn't explain what we're talking about here clearly. Yisucha lecho b'sharecha meiser, degoncha, siroishcha, yitzarcha, b'charis b'karcha v'tzeilcha, b'chol nedorecha, v'nidvesecha, utrumas yadecha. Basically, everything out there you can't eat in your shower. I guess it's outside Yerushalayim. Don't eat all these things. Okay, so the question is why do we need all these things mentioned? And some even explain that the Apostle before already mentioned all these things. So because it says don't eat them. Why does it bring the whole long list again? So either way, it's extra. There's something to be dorish of. There's something going on in this pasuk. So it comes on Rosh Hashanah and says, okay, I'll tell you what this pasuk means. The Tanya, elu bikurim. Now, if you notice, the last word in this pasuk is trumas yadcha. That's the last thing in the pasuk, trumas yadcha. But that's the first thing he's dorish, and that's fundamental to this Gemara, and it's also fundamental to the problem of this Gemara. That's Bikurim. So what does Reb Shimon say? Amar Reb Shimon, what's come to teach me? So if it's come to teach me you can't eat the chutz l'chayim, which is the mashmois of the pasuk, you can't eat the outside Yerushalayim, right? You can't eat it in your shar. If that's what it's coming to tell me, I'll know this from the principle kavachayim. We got a kavachayim. That what? Like if you eat maisa outside Yerushalayim, you get the lashes. Bikurim like Hashken, of course. Bikurim, you should get Malchus. It's a kavachayim. So it can't be coming to teach me you can't eat when the pasuk says utrumas yodcha, and trumas yodcha means bikurim because it says in the pasuk v'nosan b'yodcha atena. You give it to the kain in his hand, the bikurim. So trumas yodcha is talking about the trum of your hand means bikurim. And it can't be coming to tell me that we don't eat it outside Yerushalayim, because we know that kavachayim from Maisa. You can't eat Maisa outside Yerushalayim. That what? If Maisa you can't eat outside Yerushalayim, and Maisa's ka'al bikurim like Oshkein, like Barkosov Ella. So the Torah is telling me something completely different. It's coming to tell me that they nav lecho bikurim adash aleikar aleihem. Shiur, it's coming to tell me that if you eat the bikurim, sorry, did I skip here? Yeah, no, I didn't skip. It's coming to tell me that if you eat the bikurim before you read all the pasuk Arami Evidavi, that whole drasha you say when you read bikurim, that's what the pasuk is coming to tell me. That if you eat it before, then you get Malchus. We're just doing a quick recap on Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, because the Zayin base is very totally in that. So that's the first drasha. It's coming to tell me we eat bikurim. You can't eat bikurim before you read the pasuk Arami Evidavi, before you read that pasuk. Even though the pasuk doesn't say anything about it, we have a principle called if you can't use it for this, use it for that. You got a pasuk. The pasuk doesn't seem to be telling you anything. We know it. You can't eat it. So if you can't use it for this, use it for something completely different. Says the Gemara. So now, what's the next pasuk? Then the pasuk says something else. It says, "V'nid v'secha." What's v'nid v'secha? That's he's going back in the pasuk. Says the pasuk, "V'nid v'secha" is the second to last thing. The last thing was trumas yadcha. That's bikurim. that you can't eat Bikurim without reading the Shem. What is it for Secha Kabbalah? He's a Taida, V'Shlamim. The guy brings a Kabbalah Taida. He's not Chayt to bring a Kabbalah Taida. You want to thank Hashem, Shlamim. What's it then? What's this Kabbalah? It can't be Kabbalah like the Mashmais, the obvious, that says, the Pasuk says, I can't come and tell me that. That's Pashat. Why? If it's come tell me you don't need the outside Yerushalayim, Kavachayim Maisa. I've got the same Kavachayim from Maisa. I'll know from Maisa you can't eat outside Yerushalayim. If it's got to be telling me something else. That what? If you eat it before Zrika, you're like, you have to do Zrika Saddam before you eat. The Bukhairis. So what's the Pasuk is the Bukhairis. That's already further up in the Pasuk. Zabachar is talking about Bachar. You can't tell me the eat outside Yerushalayim. We know that from Maisa. The same thing. We know from Maisa. You can't eat Maisa outside Yerushalayim. You can't eat Bachar outside Yerushalayim. Now, also can't be coming to tell me the Zrika. Why? Because that will know from Taida V'Shlamim. We just said the last Joshua was Taida V'Shlamim. Which it turns out, the Gemara is going to ask later, you see that you have to learn the drosha in reverse order, otherwise none of these droshas work. It's got to be done in this order. That was the genius of Reb Shimon, apparently. Right? It's coming to tell me that you can't eat from the Bechar, even Lachazrika. Even Lachazrika you can't eat. And what is Bekar Chavetzeincha? And we saw the Mefarshim saying that means because the Ikar, Karbanis, Chatos, and Asham comes from the Tzayin of a Bakar, so all others learn because there's nothing else to learn from it. Bekar Chavetzeincha, Zuchatos Vasham. So Reb Shimon, what we learn from it? What's this coming to tell me in the Pasuk? It says in the Pasuk, Lo Yisucha Lecha B'Sharecha, Imba Lecha Chutz L'Chayim Kavachayim Maisa. We know you can't eat outside Yerushalayim from Maisa, right? If Maisa you can't eat outside Yerushalayim, Kavachayim you can't eat Chatos Vasham outside Yerushalayim. If it's come to tell me you need to do Zrika, we'll know that from Taida V'Shlamim. What about Im La'achaz Zrika, Kavachayim B'Bechar? If it's come to tell me you can't eat the Achaz Zrika, Kavachayim B'Bechar. It's come to tell me you can't eat it outside of the Kilayim. Not outside the Chayma, but you can't even eat it further inside. The Chayma is the further outside wall. You have to eat the Maisa in the outside wall of Yerushalayim. But this you have to eat in the Kilayim, the inside chamber, inside walls. So another added area, another Issa. Sure, like Nederecha, what does Nederecha mean? Zu Ayla. And that is Ayla, because you're not normally chayv to bring a carbon Ayla. Ayla is for a mitzvah's essay. You're not chayv to bring Ayla. He wants to bring Ayla. What's this kind of time? You can't be telling me where to eat. You can't be telling me you need Zrika. You can't be telling me you have to eat it within the Kilayim, because we'll know that from Chatas V'Asham. And this is today's amud. It's coming to tell me if you eat Ayla, even Lachazrika, even in the base of Mikdash, even Kaji Kadashim, whoever eats it, wherever you eat it, Ayla has to go up. You makrav it completely. If you eat any of the Ayla, you like her. That's what it's coming to tell me. So that's how Reb Shimon is derish's pasuk. Now, says the Gemara, Amar Rava. This is a little bit of a pella. Amar Rava. The Elide Ime, a woman who's giving birth, Reb Shimon Tailed. She should give birth like Reb Shimon. If not, she shouldn't give birth at all. He's coming to be Mishnah. Reb Shimon gave this drasha, and he's so nispal from this big long drasha. He says, it looks like he's saying the tefillah. Amarava delida yimei, and a mother that gives birth, Reb Shimon Tailed, she should give birth like Reb Shimon v'lo seiled. The pashtus of the Gemara is, you think the Rav is saying women should only give birth to people like Reb Shimon, and not less than Reb Shimon. Rashi says something different. Rashi says delida yimei Reb Shimon Tailed. Koshima Yoledes Tevakish Rachamim. Yirotz and Sheikh Reb Shimon. a woman who's pregnant, she should pray that the child should be, the uba should be like Reb Shimon. So that's the if not, she shouldn't give birth. Ritter says, what do you mean if not she shouldn't give birth? He takes out the gears of chas v'shalom if she's not like Reb Shimon, because that's actually an insult. If you say that you have to be like Reb Shimon, if not don't give birth, what you're saying is anything below that is completely unacceptable. There's nothing special about him, but that's the lowest. Less than that and you're done. Like, don't give birth less than that. And chas v'shalom, Reb Shimon was in a very high darga. Even less than Reb Shimon was still fantastic darga to be on, right? Just interestingly enough, I did a little bit of a shallow dive. Who is this Reb Shimon? Now the Basha says, the Gemara says this is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Stammer of Mishnah, Reb Shimon is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That's mashman a few places in the Rishonim. Even though there was a slew of 10, 20 Tanoim who were called Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Reb Shimon ben Nisanel, Reb Shimon ben Reb Elazar, there's Reb Shimon Bar Yehuda. There's a bunch of Reb Shimons. But the Gemara before said that this is Rebbe Kiva, and Reb Shimon was a Talmud of Rebbe Kiva, and the Gemara says this is going according to Rebbe Kiva, which is mashma that this is Reb Shimon's Talmud, Reb Shimon, a Talmud of Rebbe Kiva. But there's a lot of kashas on Stam Rishon to Reb Shimon, and some people have brought other places fascinating mishnayos that say it's Reb Shimon, and which make very little sense because there's contradictions, and you have sometimes it says Reb Shimon, and it's like. So some Achrayim say that Reb Shimon, before he went into the cave, he was called Reb Shimon. After he went out of the cave, Chazal referred to him as Shimon Bar Yochai. There's a simon, and we pass him like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, but we don't pass him like Reb Shimon. The sugya is quite messy. There's a lot of kashas. Interesting to what's going on over here. So he says you should be like Reb Shimon. Now the Gemara asks, this Reb Shimon, it sounds very nice, but there's massive kasha on it. There's kashas on each one of his kavachaimas. There's something called a pircha. A pircha means you say this is more chomer than that, and therefore if it's true here, it's true there. But guess what? That's more chomer than this in some ways. So you can no longer learn a kavachaim. What are the pirchas? Each one of these shlavim of Rosh Reb Shimon, there's a pircha. Let's see. So. They say pircha. My chumet the bikurim in Maisa. The Gemara, the first drasha, that said the bikurim is more stringent than Maisa. Why? Sheken asurim lezarim. That what? What's he saying? Bikurim is asel lezarim. So it's more chomer than Maisa. Adrabah, Maisa chomer lehefech au contraire. Mais is more chama, shekain asul einan. And einan, someone whose immediate family, one of the 7 kravim, died, he's not allowed to eat maisa. He's allowed to eat bikurim, but he can't eat maisa. So you see that maisa is more chama than bikurim. So that's a pircha. You can't come and say this is more chama, therefore I can learn this from that. We have ways to see that that's more chama. Okay? My chama de taida v'shlomim and maisa. Why is taida v'shlomim more chama than maisa? That was the second thing. The Gemara says, Taida, Shlomim, that's Muhammad, the Maisa. Right? The guy she came to it in Matan Domim. Why is it Muhammad? Because you have to give the Matan Domim, Ve'murim, you got to place the blood, and you have to do it with Maisa. With Maisa, there's no blood, there's no Emurim. Adrabah, says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Maisa Chomer, Maisa is Muhammad, she came to it in Kesef Tzura. When you pay the Maisa, Paida means you have the Maisa, and you say, I want to eat it outside Yerushalayim. You can paida it. But you have to be paida with Kesef Tzura. Kesef Tzura is money that stands with a Tzura on it. You have to use a coin with a Tzura. I guess it was more chashuv, it showed you that it's real. But when you paida, the other thing, when you paida, what are you talking about here? When we paida Taida v'shlamim, you don't need Kesef Tzura, you can use any Kesef. So you see, it's a massive chumah by Maisa, and it's a pasuk. V'tzasa kesef biyodecha. It's a pasuk. You need kesef tzura. My chumah the bechar. What was the chumah the Reb Shimon had with bechar mitayde v'shlamim? So the Gemara, so Reb Shimon was held that bechar is more chomer than tayde v'shlamim. Why? Shekain kedushasai merechem. What does that mean? That a bechar, the second he's born, it's a machlaikas. It seems to be a stira. If the bechar is kaddish when he sticks his head out, when he sticks his shoulders out, But a Bechar is Kadesh, Merechem, as soon as it's born. It's born, Kadesh. Taida v'shlamim, it's not Kadesh, you have to make it Taida, right? If you don't make it a Taida, it's not Taida. Says the Gemara, Adarabba, Lehefech. Taida v'shlamim chamurim. There's a chumr that we find by Taida v'shlamim. What's that? Shekain to'nim smicha v'nesachim v'tenufas chaze v'shaik. You got to do all these things. You need smicha, nesech, you got to shake it, chaze v'shaik. So you see that, to a certain extent, that's much more chama. The Gemara says, "My chumah dechatas." What was the chumah dechatas had over Asham and Bechar? Gemara, if you remember, Rabbi Shimon said, "Chatas is more chama than Asham Bechar." Sorry, my chumah dechatas is Asham and Bechar. Why is chatas and Asham more chama than a Bechar? Gemara says, "Shekain kachik gedosh, kachik gedashim." What's it? Because it's kachik gedashim. In other words, Chatas v'asham is kachik gedashim, and Bechar is not kachik gedashim. Adrabah, Bechar chomer. The Gemara says no. Lehefech, Bechar is more chomer. Shechein kedushas ha'merechem. There you got the kedushas ha'merechem thing. You say, listen, the Bechar, as soon as it's born, it's kadosh. My chumah da'ila mechatas. This is a very interesting one. My chumah da'ila mechatas. Why is Ayla muchomer than chatas v'asham? The Gemara says shechein kalel. Because the Ayla is burned completely, whereas the Chatas v'asham is not burned completely. When it says Adarabah, Chatas v'asham chamiri, Chatas v'asham is more chama. Why? Shechein mechapri. Chatas v'asham, it's a kapara. What's the word? Nullifies averis. It cancels averis. It's mechaper. It atones averis. That's what I was looking for. Chaz v'asham atone averis, and Ayla doesn't atone averis. It's very strange because l'chayra Ayla is mechaper on averis, right? Which averis is Ayla mechaper on? On essay. If someone does an essay and he wants to do a tshuva for not doing an essay. Let's say he didn't shake lulav. He feels bad. He brings an Ayla. He's not mechayiv to, but he wants a tikkun. What should you do? He brings Ayla. So what do you mean it's not mechaper? So someone will say that you see the fact that a guy could bring an Ayla from many different averis he didn't do. The guy didn't do a bunch of mitzvahs, sorry. The guy didn't shake lulav, he didn't sit in the sukkah, he didn't eat matzah. You can bring one Ayla, it's mechaper for everything. So you see it's working differently. To a certain extent, like the chatas takes care of the avera. Maybe the Ayla is taking care of the person. It's not taking care of the sin you did. So that's why that's more chomer. Okay, there's a lot of places to say a lot there. There's a lot going on over here. The Gemara says, the kulu chamir ma'ayla, they're all more chomer than Ayla. Why? All of the korbanos, the bikurim, chatas, everything's more chomer than Ayla. Why? Isbu shtei achilas. What's the chomer? Why is everything more chomer than Ayla? The Gemara says, isbu shtei achilas. What exactly does it mean as to achilas? So what it means is when you burn a carbon, and right, so the mizbech is what's called eichel. The mizbech eats, and also the person eats. But with the Ayla, only one person eats. Only Hashem eats. Only the mizbech eats. So everything kilo there's two people eat, so it's considered more chomer. The other meats and it's interesting. I heard someone saying that the world was shocked when they discovered that Yidden would bring a carbon and they would eat it. How do you eat a carbon? You bring sacrifice to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and you eat the sacrifice. Like, what, you're a sinner, you're a Rasha. How you eat a carbon? It's for Hashem. And the idea is that's a carbon chadas. When you get rid of your chait, you become holy. There's like, it's a kedusha, it's a mitzvah. We're going to see. Is it a mitzvah even? It's a big shaila. Is it even a mitzvah to eat ma'isa in Yerushalayim? Big machlekes l'chayra. So, says Gemara, Elamai, so we got all these pirchas on Reb Shimon, right? Each one of the Kavachayim that Shimon bought, there's a pircha. Ela, my delida imek Reb Shimon. So what did he mean? What did Rav mean when he said, whoever gives birth should give birth like Reb Shimon? Alright, this doesn't, his whole Kavachayim, his whole drasha seems to be wrong. So the Gemara is answering now. The fact that he held there is a chumrah. You're right, there's a tzad like this, a tzad like that, but this is muchamar. So Reb Shimon held it is a chumrah, right? We had a kasha, it's not a chumrah. You got the other side is also muchamar. But the fact that he says this is a chumrah, he's able to. The chiddush is it's according to him, he's mesaris lekra. So Rashi explains what does he mean mesaris lekra? As we said, he can only learn this drasha if he chops up the pasuk and he learns it in reverse order. If he learns the other way, then there's no drasha at all. If you start from the beginning, there's no drasha. You have to start at the end and learn from Ayla. Only that way, once you mesaris lekra, that's Reb Shimon's genius. He's mesaris lekra, and then he makes his whole drasha. So that's why he's saying it could be it's not. It could be he's saying it's not la halacha. Maybe this is how some people learn. It's not la halacha, but the fact that he had this genius and he did lishma or whatever, and he came up with his pshat in the pasuk, even though it's not, we might not hold of it because there's a pircha to every one of his kal v'chaimeres, but still that genius, that level of dedication, that's what he means. You should be like Reb Shimon. Now the Gemara asks another question, which we still have. In fact, the Gemara, all these drushes to come and tell me that it's also. Reb Shimon holds it's also to eat outside Yerushalayim, it's also to eat outside the Klaim, it's also to eat Lifnei Zrika, it's also, it's all Ashara, it's called a warning. It's not telling you what the Einish is. V'chi mazir medin, you can't have a warning minadin from a kal v'chayma. How can you have a kal v'chayma from Ayla? Ein mazir minadin. You can't say, oh, if it's also to eat ants, I can't eat cockroaches either. That's a kal v'chayma. You can't make such a kal v'chayma. Even if you hold that you can give a punishment minadin from a kal v'chaymer, ein mazir minadin. Even the mandama says you can't give a punishment. You could give. Even the mandama you could give a punishment minadin. Still, he holds a ein mazir minadin. You can never make something also from a kal v'chaymer. So just because the Torah says it's also to take your sister from your half sister, from your father, your half sister from your mother, it doesn't mean that you can't take your full sister. That's called a kal v'chaymer. Ein masir min adin. So the Gemara answers, Isura be'alma. It does. Reb Shimon doesn't mean you get malchus. Even though it says in each stage, like, it doesn't mean like. It just means that it's also. In other words, what's he saying? The klal of ein masir min adin doesn't mean you can't make something also from a kal v'chayma. You can, but it's not enough to be an ashara to give you a malchus. If there's a kal v'chayma can tell you something's also. But it's not enough to tell me that therefore you're going to get malchus for it if you over. The Gemara asks, Omar. Rava says, Zah, Sha'acha min Ayla, Lifnei Zrika, Chutz l'chayma. Rava comes up with one of these beautiful cases. A Zar, he's not a Kayan. So he's also to eat. Sha'acha min Ayla. Now you can't eat Ayla. Ayla is also to eat forever, right? Lifnei Zrika. Any carbon you have to eat after Zrika, not Lifnei Zrika. Chutz l'chayma. Outside the Chayma, the fourth is, we'll see, it's two Isram. It's Chutz l'chayma and Chutz l'chayma. Because anything Chutz l'chayma is also Chutz l'chayma, right? So Reb Shimon like a chamesh. So Rava said that guess what? He gets 5 markers. So don't tell me that it's only to tell me it's also. Mefurish Rava that says he gets markers. Right? So Gemara answers Chamisha Isurin Hava. It means 5 Isurim. It doesn't mean he gets 5 markers, 5 lashes. It means 5 Isurin. Now, ask the Gemara, our Mishnah starts off by saying these are the guys that get malchus. What do you mean you don't get malchus? It's just a issa. The Mishnah says before you get malchus. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up tomorrow. We'll finish this thing. Okay, we'll end this tomorrow. Be'ez Hashem. Thank you very much. Kayach.